What's going on, YouTube? This is Amato, and this is going to be the most updated version of my Fabled build. Now, I know there are a lot out there, and I know that most of them are just completely and horrifically bad, but I feel like mine is actually one of the better ones out there, and if it fits your playstyle, feel free to test it out, and tell me what you guys think. So, let's get started. First off, I have triple Fabled Chawa. Now, for my build type, I have to run 3. I know there are a lot of decks out there that like to run 2. Personally, I have no idea why. But maybe it's because I do run a more pure Fabled deck list, or deck, kind of. But I'll get into that later. So 3 Chawa for me, works nice, works great. I run triple Grimro. It is the Rhoda of the deck. It makes you get through your deck and get what you need in your hand as fast as you possibly can. It's level 4 in the graveyard for the cruise target, and it is just an overall great card for Fables to run. Now, the one thing that I changed in this deck, or one of the many things that I did change, was I went back to 3 Cerebral. And the last deck list that I made, I only had 2. But I feel like with the way that the deck runs now, I have to run 3. If you look at my most recent Fabled strategy video, you will see that it is actually a part of many combos, and there are so many others I cannot even explain. But Cerebral at 3 with this deck, like this deck build, is actually a lot better than in any other build I've worked on so far. Now, I am still running Double Kushano. Double Kushano just makes the deck a lot more consistent the second it hits the graveyard. So I am also doing a couple of other techs for this purpose, but it's always nice to have a 3-star tuner in the deck. You know, it's a great card to normal summon and start off all your combos with Grimro and all that. And it's just very good. If one of them gets removed, you still have another one. So that's kind of my thought behind always having to run 2. I run 2 Cruise. I've been going back and forth a lot between 3 and 2, but I find that 2 is the best for this build, simply because you don't dead draw in your first hand, and if you need it, half the time I won't ever draw Cruise without having to search for it, and that is a great thing, because you don't really want to draw Cruise unless you absolutely need it, and half of the time if you want it, you're gonna have to search for it, which is not that bad, because that's actually one of the best things about this deck, is that if you don't need Cruise, sometimes you'll have it and you'll be like, oh cool, I can go for it. And if you do need it, then most of the time you will be able to search for it. I run 1 of each, 1 Luri, 1 Ganashia, and 1 Nozochi. Now, I run Nozochi for all those Fabled like strategies and combos and stuff like that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at my recent videos. Luri, I run it for those crazy shooting star, shooting quasar, formula synchron, TG hyper librarian plays. You may think that running 1 won't help me bring out quasar consistently enough, but that's not the point of the deck. The point of the deck is to be able to synchro summon out of your ass and just completely overwhelm your opponent and take the OTK. But Fabled Luri is in there just to open up so many more options. It's great with Double Kushano because it gives you an instant level 4. Great with Chawa, instant formula synchron, and it's just a great card overall. Now, Fabled Ganashia. I went down to 1 because in this build, TG Warwolf just does its job so much better. The fact that Ganashia has to be discarded as special summon, I mean, I know that's kind of what the whole deck is made to do, but half of the time, Ganashias are dead, and I know that sounds weird, but Werewolves are just so much better, and I'm not going to take it out, because in the end, it's still an okay card, but I am going to replace it with something that does its job better. Now, for the level 4s that I run in the deck, I have double Thunder King Ryo. For obvious purposes, you know, it stops a lot of searching, stops the special summons that are inherent, and it's just a good card to just normal summon, and half of the time, if your opponent does not have anything to come back with, you can just bust the Thunder King Ryo beatdown and win the deck, or win the duel with just 1900 attack alone. Now, double Reborn Tengu, I'm still running the Tengus, just because Tengus are too good not to run in any deck that is not beast-based or has a lot of tuners that can synchro spam very well. Again, I am running 2 TG Werewolves. Their summoning ability is just too good in this deck. It's never dead. and it does the job of Fabled Ganashia so much better. It's level 3, so you can go into Librarian or you can go into a Reagan. And like I said before, I was testing this deck out with Doppel Warriors, and I do say Doppel Warriors clog the deck up so much, it is not even funny. I would rather run these guys because they're a lot easier to get special summoned, and they're level 3. Now, Sangan for obvious reasons. And then one tricky because running more than one gives you dead draws. And half of the time you don't want to discard something random for the tricky. You want to discard something that you can actually use as a discard option. But I mean, other than that, the tricky is a good card, and he shouldn't be ignored just because of that. So that's it for the monster lineup. It's very short. For the spells, I run a Monster Reborn, a Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, Mind Control, Pot of Avarice, Book of Moon, and then triple Mystical Space Typhoons. As far as I'm concerned, these are all staples for this deck. Mind Control has to be run in any deck that runs more than 5 tuners, just because of how good it is to take your opponent's monsters. And to be honest, in this format, Mind Control is just good overall because of its seeds, and Pot of Avarice is great for monster recovery in Fableds. I run a Foolish Burial for Kushano. Like I said, the faster you get Kushano into the graveyard, the more consistent and the better hands you will get with this deck. Not to mention, if you are going for those last ditch effort Reagan draws, and you really don't want to draw into a specific card, you can always just Foolish Burial it, get it out of the way, and then get those 2 draws that you really need. This is one of the techs that I'm testing in this deck, so if you have anything better, please tell me in the comment section below what I should run. Card Destruction for massive card discarding and draw power. Half of the time, if I feel like my opponent has a Gores, I will Card Destruction, and 5 out of 10 times, they will, and if not, they'll draw into one, and then I'll be sitting there saying, fuck. But, you know, either way, Card Destruction is a good card. It gets rid of your opponent's hand, and it gives you draws. Double Dark Roll Dealings. The way I see this card, it is an Upstart Goblin with the free special summon, and no life points to your opponents. I know a lot of the decks, as of now, rely on the graveyard mostly, but you know, giving them one card in the graveyard is not, it's just not as good as me getting a free draw and a free special summon. And then for the traps, I run triple Royal Decree because I really hate back row, and I figure if I'm not going to run any traps, why give my opponent the benefit of having that over me? So triple Royal Decree really helps me out in that situation. For the extra deck, I run one Formula Synchron, again for those crazy Formula Librarian, shooting Quasar, shooting star plays. Armory Arm is really good in the deck. I have always wanted to run one, and I haven't been able to fit it into the extra deck until now, but I do not regret running this card because Armory Arm is really great. It can really be a game changer because of the burning effect. I run one Unicorn just because Unicorn says fuck you to Mirror Force and Torrential and everything else that you could possibly imagine when you have the same number of cards in your hand. So when you summon it on your turn and you're going really aggro, this is just a really great card. Librarian for obvious purposes. Double Reagan because it is the heart and soul of the deck. Gaia because you don't always want to waste your Bionic early in game, and it runs over a lot of monsters this meta, except for, you know, the big Chaos Dragon Beatstick crap shit, but it's a good throwaway 6-star, and it's also a pretty nice speeder. Bryo for obvious purposes. Wyvern for the OTK. Black Rose Dragon in case I have to blow up everything. Fabled Valkyris. Now, this card, I don't know if I want to run a Valkyris or a Scrap Dragon. Now, Valkyris' effect, I discard a Fiend monster and I draw one card. Now, if you notice me saying or talking about Kushano earlier, it just makes Kushano that much better because I can discard Kushano after discarding something to get him to my hand, get a free special summon off the card I discarded, and then discard Kushano to get a free draw, basically. But with Scrap Dragon, I can always just, you know, discard for Kushano, and then special summon whatever thing I discarded for Kushano destroy it to destroy something on their field, and the next turn have a Cruciano to set for the same effect. But again, this is draw power, Scrap is destruction power. I honestly have not, really put that much thought into it, and I've always kind of stuck to Valkyrie simply because he's has 100 attack more, but I know that isn't really much of a game changer. So help me out here in the comments below. Tell me if I should use Valkyries or change over to Scrap Dragon. Stardust because he's always been one of the best synchros. Mistworm because Trishula is banned, and every time I have to say that, I die a little bit inside. Shooting Star once again for those crazy plays. And then a TG Halberd Cannon because nobody has a goddamn shooting Quasar Dragon, and if they do, they value it too damn high. So that's it for my Fabled deck, guys. Please tell me if there's any way that you think I could make it better. If you liked it, please tell me so. I would be honored to let you, use it or whatever. But thanks for watching, guys, as always, and enjoy. Peace out.